you. Ah. Oh, there we go. Jeez, my eyes are so shiny. Well, that's as good as it's gonna get. Can't crop it. Let's see who's coming in today. I see some of y'all in here, but I don't know who. Or if it's just lying to me. Maybe nobody's really in here. Oh, there you guys are, some of you. Hello, everyone. I see 8 of you. 8 of you in here. Can you guys hear me okay? Because I'm not using my mic today. I'm doing pretty okay. I'll say that. I'm a little low energy. I just started doing keto. It's not exactly keto, but it's very similar to keto diet for my health. So I'm a little tired. Still trying to adjust to that one. But yeah, how are you guys doing? You guys are getting exclusive access to this. I think I'll probably release this tomorrow on YouTube, but of course you guys are going to be able to see it firsthand and ask me a few questions about, not the retrograde. I already talked about the retrograde. If you haven't seen the retrograde Leo video on Patreon, watch that. I'm gonna release that on YouTube later. But yeah, guys, like I'm on break from the monthlies because I finished July monthlies. So once I do this, then I can like really rest and, you know, just kind of settle into this new diet as well. So I was just kind of getting this out the way before the week starts. That's an interesting question. I'm gonna get back to that. I'm gonna put a pin in that so we can get into this, so it doesn't go on for too long, and get to the facts, get to the matter at hand. All right, so there's quite a few of you in here now, so we'll get started. Anybody who comes in, if they're asked what's going on, you can update them in the comments, as well as, you know, this will be saved so you can watch it back when it's finished. Alrighty, so let's get into it, y'all. So as you know, sorry, my nose rings are crooked. As you know, we have I keep wanting to say retrograde. We do have a retrograde this week. There's 3 events happening this week. We have the retrograde, Leo, Venus retrograde. We have new moon in Cancer tomorrow, and we also have the nodes changing tomorrow. So let's kind of just focus on the nodes for right now, because we've already talked about the retrograde. So the nodes, you have North Node and South Node in your chart, and they represent points of fate. They're not actually planets, right? So North Node is supposed to be where we are intended to go, our life purpose, our progress, where we're striving, where our souls want to go. South Node is past lives, and it can also be your past. It is where you're most comfortable. It is where you've already mastered your soul's growth. So you're not really going to grow anymore in your South Node. You're really meant to strive to move towards your North Node, but you use your South Node to get there. I know that sounds a little weird, but your South Node's skills help you achieve your North Node, right? So in this case here, we just had Scorpio and Taurus. We had Taurus North Node, Scorpio South Node, which is about to change. So we were striving to move more into a Taurus energy, right? That's where we were striving to go. That's where we're growing into by releasing negative Scorpio qualities and embracing better ones to get to the Taurus energy. So I know that sounds a little weird, but yeah, I'm trying to explain it as best as I can without confusing you, because you have your own north and south node in your chart, but then astrologically, the planets are always in a sign. So getting, for example, how I can kind of see it is like getting to Taurus North Node by using your Scorpio South Node is like Taurus is like stability and self-reliance and beauty and really leaning into being grounded and letting go of anything that kind of interferes with that. So emotional volatility, instability, and using your, I guess using like the more positive side of Scorpio would be using other people's resources to help you become more self-reliant in some way, because Scorpio deals with other people's resources. So that's just one example. Now, we're moving out of that energy. So it's not irrelevant, but it's kind of relevant. So we're moving into now Aries North Node, Libra South Node. So where we want to strive towards is Aries energy right now. So that is independence, that is courage, that is passion, all things related to Mars, right? That is initiation, that is being a go-getter. And we are not relying as heavily on Libra themes. So superficiality, and this is not to say like Libra is like this sign. This is not to, it doesn't make up the sign entirely, but the more, I guess, not great aspects of Libra, right? So superficiality, indecisiveness, lack of authenticity, self-sacrifice in some ways, or self-sabotage, or codependency, right? So we're moving from codependency to independence, but to get to the North Node, we have to acknowledge the South Node. So we have to acknowledge where we fall short, where we're not being authentic, where we're not being independent, and our relationships are always going to reflect that. So based on the current state of your relationships right now, it's going to tell you what is blocking you from getting to your North Node, what's blocking you from getting to this state of like feeling independent, feeling not so codependent on people, or being more authentic, or being more in alignment with the right people. So, it's an idea to play around with like your South Node, or the North Node is like a problem to be solved, and the South Node is the solution. So think about that. Let that sit in your brains. Okay, so it's like I can go on a whole video on that, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it for that part. But that is what North Node and South Node are in a very brief explanation. You can always, of course, do some more research specifically on yours and what they mean for you and your specific chart, because you have to look at what planet, or not, what signs they're in, and then what houses they're in, to know specifically how it plays out in your life and what you should be striving towards or integrating less of. So all that to say, yeah. Now, getting into this transition here. So we're moving away from Taurus and Scorpio. We're moving away from the fixed energy. We're moving towards Aries and Libra. So we're moving away from this very slow-paced, consistent, very like intimate, very steady, very grounded energy, and we're moving into something a lot more fast. We're moving into something a lot more spontaneous and even exciting, or courageous, however you want to describe it. Something more intellectual, something more physical. We're moving into more of that energy. It's less like emotional and materialistic. It's just more about passion and using your energy to get things moving. So with Aries, being in the North Node, that is where we're striving towards. Whereas Libra being the South Node, that is where we're moving away from. So based on your chart, everybody has a Aries house and a Libra house. If you Google whole signs chart, you'll be able to see clearly where you have Aries, where you have Libra. But based on your rising sign, right? So your rising sign, for everybody, your rising sign will always change the layout of your houses. So if you have an Aries rising, you're not going to have the same house Libra's in. If you're a Taurus rising, it's going to be a completely different house. So you can look it up online, astro charts, or like I think Astrology Cafe. You could look up like a whole signs chart, or you can just literally count the houses based on your rising sign. So for me, I'm a Scorpio rising, so all I have to do is count Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries. Aries is my 6th house. So you can do that for your rising sign as well. Just count in the order and you'll find it. All right. So everybody's like, I don't have an Aries house. I don't have a Libra house. I don't have this. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. It's just some charts don't show it because of the degrees. But yeah, I'm ready to get out of this energy as well. I have a lot of Scorpio placements and all the South Node on my Scorpio. So, you know, but yeah, so for figuring out where the North and South Node are going to affect you, you want to look at where you have Aries in your houses and where you have Libra. That's it. You don't need to look at your planets right now. You don't need to look at your North and South Node right now. All you need to look at is your houses, because if you are not advanced in reading your chart, you're going to get confused. So literally only focus on Aries and Libra in your houses. That's it. That's all we're looking at. So now, I'm going to go through where, based on both of like the axis of each pair, opposite signs, so you'll know where to look in your houses. All right, so if you are, and this can also apply to your sun, you can apply it to your sun sign as well, but we're just focusing on rising sign for this purpose. If you don't know your rising sign, definitely focus on your sun sign, okay? And then if you really want to get advanced, then you can apply it to your North Node and South Node, I guess. But rising sign is going to be the most accurate for where it's happening for you. All right. So if you have a Aries rising or a Libra rising or sun, if you have Aries or Libra rising, the nodes, Aries and Libra, are going to be happening in your 1st and 7th houses. All right, so it just depends on whether you're Aries rising or Libra rising, where it's going to be. It'll be flip-flop for you if you have Libra rising. So Aries, North Node in your 1st, South Node in your 7th, Libra rising, North Node in your 7th, South Node in your 1st. Okay, keep up with me. All right, I know it sounds a little confusing, but it's not that confusing. But what you need to know if you're Aries or Libra rising. So this whole axis for you is on your relationship axis, right? 1st house and 7th house deal with relationship. 1st house is about relationship to yourself. It's your physical body. It's who you are. It's what you represent. It's what you believe in, your perception of the world, how you approach the world, how you are perceived. Your 7th house is your relationship to another person. It can be types of people you are attracted to. It can be the types of relationships you are drawn to or you attract into your life, how you pursue relationships. And so, you know, 1st house is relationship to self, 7th house is relationship to others. It's still very interconnected. How you feel about yourself is going to reflect in your relationships and vice versa. So that is what you want to consider. Now, this time period for you, Aries and Libra rising specifically, it needs to really be a focus and an emphasis on balancing out relationships. So it's not a time where you just need to be all or nothing. It doesn't mean that you need to be full throttle in your relationships and making sure they're perfect and making sure you're in one. It's not really that. A lot of us are really going to be gravitating away from dependency on relationships right now, and wanting to be more independent. but it's about finding the middle ground, right? For you, especially. I mean, it's going to be like that for all of us, but especially for you guys. The middle ground in what is too reliant on other people and what is too independent, hyper independent. Both are not good. So people have a tendency to think being more independent means you're more healed, you're healthier. It doesn't. You can have just as much trauma as somebody who is very codependent. Hyper independency is a trauma response. It's an inability to be vulnerable, to be intimate, to trust, because you have just had to be very, very, very extremely self-reliant. So it's very hard for you to show up, and it's like you will self-sabotage relationships very easily. At the drop of a hat, you're like, oh, don't need them. Bye, done. You know? But on the other side of that, with Libra energy, you can sometimes have a tendency to overstay in relationships, where Aries has a tendency to be gone real quick. So both of those are not good. That is where the middle ground happens for you, Aries rising and Libra rising, is understanding when is the time to fight harder, when is the time to walk away, when is the time to find a mutual agreement, not you versus me. It becomes we with Aries and Libra, right? So that's pretty much the biggest premise of what you need to know, is about challenging your own beliefs about relationships, figuring out how to compromise more, especially for Aries rising, and also figuring out where you need to be more authentic, right? So Aries is about authenticity, where Libra, being opposite signs, sometimes can struggle with that because Libra is such a mirror to other people. So sometimes Libra doesn't even know who they are, or who they are can really change based on who they're around, based on who they are with, because they're always trying to balance out the energy. And so therefore they kind of can struggle with figuring out their real identity. And that is not necessarily something that Aries struggles with, but sometimes Aries has a hard time yielding to other people having, being multifaceted. Is just like, oh, it has to be like this, or it has to be like this. But you can be like dynamic. So that is where you're having to do a lot of inner work, but figuring out where your relationships need you to show up more, or maybe you need to step down a little bit, or maybe you need to be more proactive, or maybe you need to be more dependent upon people for certain things or not for certain things. And how you feel about yourself is going to reflect in your relationships, okay? And letting go of bad habits in connections is going to really be shown to you for Aries and for Libra risings. All right, so that is the axis that is showing up for you guys. Now moving on to the next axis, the next house axis. So if you have a Scorpio rising or sun, or a Taurus rising or sun, then this nodal change is going to be showing up now in your 6th house and 12th house axis. All right, so for Taurus specifically, the North Node in Aries is going to be in your 12th. South Node in Libra is going to be in your 6th. For Scorpio rising specifically, North Node is going to be in your 6th, and South Node is going to be in your 12th. All right, but for both of you guys, Taurus and Scorpio, this is a time all about health, your relationship to health, and finding the balance between your mental health, spiritual health, your physical health, emotional health, all of these things. So it's going to be one of those things where you'll have to figure out, what is most important as far as like prioritizing your health over your routines, over this, over that. And so it's like you cannot neglect one or the other. And that's where it's going to sometimes take a little bit of trial and error for you. So there is going to be a lot of emphasis on like getting healthier, taking care of health issues, wanting to do better at like self-care as far as like detoxing or your mental health, your spiritual health. And so all of these things are going to work together, but you have to also, find that balance in not neglecting other things. So it's easy to get really caught up for you, Taurus and Scorpios, right now in your health and obsessing about your routines and how you're going to get things done and, attraction here, because 6th house is correlated to Virgo, 12th house is correlated to Pisces, and that is all about your physical health and your routines, your daily life and your work. But then you have your spirituality and you have, your rest and recovery. So, especially for Scorpio risings, you want to make sure that you are getting enough rest and you're not just like too focused on your health and you're neglecting your mental health in the process of like your work, right? So there's going to be, you need to pay attention to that. And then for Taurus risings, even, you may get so caught up in your spiritual journey or spiritual healing or just disconnecting or, going off the grid. This may be a time where you feel more likely to take like a hiatus. And then you start kind of neglecting your daily life. You start neglecting your work or you start neglecting your routines. So you want to be very careful about that because you'll be very driven towards one or the other. You'll be very driven towards your health on some axis, or you'll have to focus a lot more on that more than relationships because you just left the relationship sector with the nodes before this actually. So now you have a new primary focus on your life. It's like, I need to feel good. I need to take care of myself. I need to heal my trauma. I need to heal my body from the inside out. And it's just about figuring out what works because, too much of one thing is not always a good thing. And so it's like you want to find that balance between like, I'm going to be impulsive about trying health stuff, or I'm going to be very passive about what I'm doing in my health. So it's like an ebb and flow. Like we have to try things and we have to wait and see. And then we have to intuitively feel what's working and what's not working. So you'll try different things with that, like eating different, working out. I know for myself, I'm Scorpio rising. I am going to begin doing acupuncture a lot more consistently. So that's already in place for me, changing up my diet, all these things. So that's the case for Scorpio and Taurus, and where the nodes are going to be emphasizing for you to get things done and you to find balance in the relationship you have to your health overall. Okay. All right. So next axis we have Gemini and Sagittarius rising or sun. I'm not gonna keep saying or sun, but you understand. You can check for your sun sign too. So we have Sag and Gemini and Sag on the 11th and 5th house axis. So for Gemini specifically, Gemini risings, this nodal change is happening in Aries, it's in your 11th house. Libra is in your 5th. Sagittarius is in your 5th for North Node, and then the South Node is in your 11th. So this is the axis of fame and notoriety and fun and groups of friendships and organizations. So I feel like this is going to be a really fun time for you guys. Like I think, if anything, you guys are probably going to have the best time and the easiest time dealing with this energy because there's going to be emphasis on, I think maybe the hardest part is going to be figuring out whether or not you need to fit into the crowd or fall into the crowd, or you need to stand outside the crowd. For Gemini, it more so might be along the lines of like you need to figure out or network more, or like get more in tune with like your friends or people that are around you, and maybe focus a little bit less on doing things solo. And then for Sagittarius risings, it's more so you're leaning more into doing your own thing, being more like out there with your creativity, doing your own type of hobbies, and like focusing a little bit less on being included in things, or doing what the crowd is doing, or being so caught up on like being connected to a group. Now this doesn't mean that you need to detach completely from either one of those things. Like, you can still have your hobbies, you can still do your own thing, you can still have your friends, but it's just a matter of like going outside your comfort zone will be one of those two areas. Whether it's, you need to network more, you need to work with people more, you need to be more involved in like social activities in order to see progress because you're not getting anywhere on your own, or that you need to push yourself more to like post online or do more hobbies or have more fun or date, so there's an emphasis on that, but more so just like socializing and figuring out like where are you holding yourself back, right? So it's probably has to do with ego, whether it's like your ego is stopping you from being more out there and being more authentic and just going for things and trying new hobbies and seeing what sticks and having fun while doing it, or your ego kind of like stops you from trying to make friends or trying to relate to other people or trying to connect with other people more. So this is a time where you definitely could reach a new level of success in your creative endeavors, in your social life, in social media. You'll be like, getting more known, getting more out there and more local. It's just a matter of finding that balance between like, all right, I need to network with other people, but I also need to put myself out there and I need to make sure I'm not hiding my gifts and all those things. So, that's the main premise of it for you guys, Gemini and Sagittarius, just making sure that you are allowing yourselves to be seen and you're also allowing other people to influence your creativity, or some things you may be a little bit more in the background and other people are more upfront, while you may be like the brains behind the project, not just the project itself and the showcase itself. So there's going to be times where you're up front, center stage, times you're behind the scenes, and both are okay. All right, next one up is probably going to be a one that's a little bit more challenging. If you have a Cancer or Capricorn rising, it's going to be a little more challenging. It's a little more challenging if you have Cancer or Capricorn rising. You can also apply to your sun. But for Cancer, the North Node is in your 10th house. South Node is in your 4th house. For Capricorn risings, the North Node is in your 4th house. South Node is in your 10th house. All right. Now, why is this challenging? Because Aries and Libra are square to Cancer and Capricorn. A square is an aspect in astrology that feels uncomfortable. It feels difficult. It brings tension. It brings stress. It's not easy, but it brings the most growth, right? It could bring the most success as well, once you get past that uncomfortable feeling. So it does mean there's going to be a bit of tension for you for a while, the next 1.5 years, as far as like pushing you to do some type of work in a realm of your life. For Cancers, it's more so pushing you out of your comfort zone to be more comfortable being in the spotlight as well, but more in your professional life, more in your career, more leaning into your achievements and pushing you towards what is it that you're really trying to accomplish outside of your personal life, like outside of your family life. It may be a situation where you have to leave home, or you have to take a job that's like far away, or maybe like there's some type of change in your career is pushing you. Capricorn, it's pushing you more towards developing a better sense of home life, a better sense of emotional safety and stability. Who are you outside of your success and your achievements, outside of your job? What else is there to life? Life is not just work. There are other things that you should be striving towards that make you feel good. Not just you can do good, but that don't mean you feel good. So what makes you actually feel good? And there's more emphasis on you finding that. And it's also more comfortable for Capricorn and Cancer here, because Cancer's natural house is the 4th house. Capricorn's natural house is the 10th. And in the rising signs, the North and South Node are in Cancer's 10th, Capricorn's 4th. So it's really pushing you to explore your opposite sign's energy. And just, I don't know what that is. Something popped up on the screen, but it's like really It's blurry. But yeah, you're exploring. And there's going to have to be a real balance for you as far as like home versus family, period. That's like the main thing for Capricorn and Cancer, home life versus family life. Which one are you going to prioritize? Home life or emotional safety versus, you know, material safety. There are going to be times where you have to do what you have to do despite how you feel. And that's just that. There are other times you have to go with what your heart is saying, not what your mind is saying. And you have to follow your heart. So it's just going to be about seeing how that plays out for you. But it's going to be somewhere along the lines of like, you're either trying to make your family happy and you're neglecting your career, or you're trying to move towards your family or build your home life or build a safe place for you. And career has to kind of take a back seat while you figure out things emotionally. All right. And there can be some conflict here as well when it comes down to relationships with coworkers or relationships with the mother or family members, the father even as well. So just keep that in mind, that there could be some complex feelings between you and your family, or you and people that you work with, or there's conflicting beliefs about like what your family thinks you should be doing or what you want to do versus what's traditional. So it's a lot about like head over heart stuff. Like some things you'll have to be more logical and practical. Some things you'll have to be more emotionally driven towards. That is where the challenges come in, because it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, boom, follow my heart, just follow it. Or, okay, boom, my head is telling me this, let's just go in that direction. No, it's not going to be that simple. I wish it was, but I'm here to tell you, be prepared for it to be a very difficult decision, where you'll have to use discernment, or, you know, maybe lean on your friends, or, you know, use some spiritual tools to figure out, is this a head decision right now, or is this a heart decision right now? What is best for me? That is where you'll have to grow. All right. So some of you may choose one or the other more often, and you'll have to find a balance between the both. All right, Cancer and Capricorn, family versus work. Let me know how that goes for you. Okay. Next, we got two more axes, 4 more signs to go. So we have Leo rising, Aquarius rising, Leo 9th house, Aquarius 3rd. So the North Node is in your 9th house, Leo, and the South Node is in your 3rd. Yeah. And then Aquarius risings, the North Node is in your 3rd, South Node is in your 9th. Okay. So this is about the access of communication and about travel. Now, I know those things don't really sound like they go together, but they're not supposed to, because they're opposite houses, right? So for both of you, it's really going to be a time of, and this may be a more enjoyable time for you as well, a more easier time for you dealing with this energy, similar to Sag and Gemini. But it's a time where you're going to have to figure out where you want to be in this world. And I mean like location wise, like physically, where do you feel like you're able to express yourself the best? So in the next 1.5 years, this is a time where a lot of you may move, or you realize you have to move in order to gain the most out of where you are, or gain the most out of like what life has to offer. So especially for Leos, you may be ending up moving far away in the next 1.5 years. Whereas to Aquarius, you may have to lean more into what is right around you, and there's resources there to be explored. And so there's a comfort zone there, right, for both of you, where it's like, either it's going to be difficult sometimes, or you'll have to use discernment as far as like, okay, do I need to actually physically change locations in order to reach more people, in order to reach my goals? Or am I just not utilizing the resources that I have right in front of me? It could be either or. It could be both at the same time. That is where we have to just wait and see how things play out. But both of these are going to either require you to be more aggressive or assertive in acquiring your own knowledge, your own truth, leaning on your own understanding, about how things work. You're going to have to figure out things for yourself. Like if you want the answers, you're going to have to go out there and look for them. But then there's other times where you're going to have to really listen. Leo, Aquarius, listen. Y'all got a listening problem. Listen to what other people are suggesting to you, what other people have to say. So that is where the stretch comes in. It's like, okay, is this a moment where I need to be listening? I need to be getting advice. I need to be aware of like what I'm supposed to do suggestion wise, or like, I really need help right now. Or am I meant to just trust my own truth and meant to follow my own path and meant to do my own thing? For Leo, it's going to be more so that. It's going to be more so you're needing to develop more of your own truth and trust yourself more and do what you need to do more. For Aquarius, it's going to be more the opposite side of that. You need to grow in listening more and utilizing what's right in front of you, and like being more open-minded to what is readily available. It's not somewhere far out there. It's more right there in your community, in your own backyard. And like it's really emphasizing finding your own inner voice, or finding that flow between this is my truth, this is what I live by, this is who I am, this is my belief, versus, okay, maybe there is another way. Maybe there are other options I haven't explored. Maybe there are people that can give me good advice and I can change my opinions. So that is where the pendulum swings for you guys over the next year and a half, like figuring out what is my truth, or what truths can I form based on other people and like observations and intellect and learning and researching, as well as like learning, becoming a learner and or a student and a teacher. You'll flip-flop. Sometimes you'll be the teacher, sometimes you'll be the student. That's how it's going to go for a while. All right, so the next thing is going to be here. Virgo and Pisces. This is the last one. For the axis, all right, Virgo and Pisces rising. So if you got Virgo or Pisces rising, the North Node is going to be in your 8th house for Virgo. South Node is going to be in your 2nd house. For Pisces rising, the North Node is going to be in your 2nd. The South Node is going to be in your 8th. So this is all about the money. All right, money. Your relationship to money, your relationship to values, okay? So this axis is going to be about, all right, when do I need to use my own resources? When do I need to be very self-reliant? When do I need to use my own money? When do I need to be patient and resilient and pragmatic about what I'm trying to build? And when do I need to lean on other people's resources? When do I need to focus more on building intimate connections, or being a little more passive when it comes down to allowing money to flow to me? So this is also an axis about self-worth and intimacy, right? So what we feel like, or how we feel about ourselves, ultimately will reflect in the situations we go towards or the situations we stay in. Right? So somebody with like a high self-worth is not going to settle in a relationship. They're not going to settle in a job because they know their value, right? So there's an emphasis on figuring out what your value is and sticking to that and allowing that to reflect in your situations with your money financially, or where you may put too much emphasis on money, too much value on money. As far as like what is valuable to you, too much emphasis on your possessions. So needing to understand that like value is not just from physical things. Value comes from depth in relationships. Value comes from learning. Value comes from loving. Value comes from so many different things. And that is where the axis is trying to show you, like, what is it that you find most valuable in your life and why, right? And do you find yourself valuable? If so, what is it that you feel like you deserve? Are you actually showing yourself or showing up for yourself in that way? So for Virgo, more so, it's emphasizing you stepping outside of your comfort zone when it comes down to other people's resources, right? And allowing other people, please don't let me drag myself, allowing other people to help you. That's like a, allowing other people to help you, because Virgo is a sign of service and Pisces is too. But the thing about it is sometimes Pisces has a, can be a more like self-sacrificing and then victimizing type of mentality, as well as Virgo has like a more enabling sense of codependency. So Virgo is more so usually the one that's like taking care of people. Pisces can sometimes be the one more so that expects people to take care of them. It can go either way though. But yeah, so Virgo, you learning how to allow other people to show up for you, or using other people's resources, depending on other people to help you, especially emotionally, because Virgo, we're very self-sufficient. But emotionally, we kind of fall short. We neglect that part of ourselves. And that is where other people can kind of fill that void and pick up the pieces for us, where we're always doing all these other things, and kind of help us to remember that value goes beyond what we do in life and how we do it, but also how we feel. And then Pisces, you're more so being pushed out of your comfort zone, um, as far as being more self-reliant, right? Learning to not depend on other people so much to make you feel valued, right? Um, and so it's like, how are you going to show yourself that you are valuable without anybody else's input in that? You don't need anybody else to validate you. They can always add to what you already have, but if you don't have any value or self-confidence that you give to yourself, self-assurance, then you're always going to be really leaning heavily on that and codependent on it. And if it's not given, then your whole sense of self-confidence just crumbles and your self-esteem just falls apart. So it's more so leaning on how you can figure out how to be self-reliant in that way and meet your own needs and feel good just to feel good, not because somebody else told you something like you should. But still, on that axis is going to be a back and forth thing. Like sometimes you're going to have to be, or figure out when you need to be more self-reliant, or when you need to give yourself more confidence, or when you need more of that from another person. And that's going to be the hardest part, is discerning like, okay, is this person really valuing me, or is it that I'm not valuing myself enough and I'm perceiving it as they're not valuing me because I'm not able to receive it? It's hard. It's easier said than done. Like it's hard to figure out, like, is it a me thing, or is it a them thing, or is it both of us? Why I'm not feeling intimately connected, or why I'm feeling insecure. So you're gonna really be figuring out that relationship to values, and whether or not you feel valuable enough in yourself, or whether or not you feel valuable enough with another person. So that's where that's going to happen. But other than that, money is going to be really getting in there for you guys. Like money is going to be really raining down on you, especially Virgo and Pisces. I'm gonna claim it for myself too, Virgo sun. But yeah, your relationship to money and how you value things is what is emphasized during this time. All right, so that is all the axis and where it's falling for all of you guys. I know there's only a couple of you left in here, but if you have any little last questions, I will definitely answer before I hop off of here and go chill for a little bit. Yeah. That actually really resonated for me too. I mean, I resonate with both my sun, my moon and rising both Scorpio, but I resonated with my sun sign and my rising sign for sure, because I do struggle with both of those things, especially for the Virgo part of it, because I definitely do everything by myself. But I've been letting more people in lately, so I've been doing it. We just don't like to owe anybody anything, really, or we don't like anybody to like use that against us. So we're just like, I'd rather not. But I feel like for myself, Virgo, doing things like more so physically, and having other people more so support me emotionally has helped a lot, so I don't feel so like out of control. Oh, so you know firsthand, you got Virgo in the 8th house, so you know how it is. You know how it be. But yeah, guys, so I'm gonna get off of here now, but you can ask me any questions before I go and I'll answer a couple. But I hope that that resonated as far as like understanding where the nodes are going for you and how this is going to play out. Oh, yep, yep, yep. Yeah, my girlfriend has a Cap Sun, Cancer Moon, so I know how it is with the opposite signs. But yeah, that's gonna be, it's a tricky thing when you got the opposite signs, because then it kind of is affecting you in both of those ways. But for all of us, we have to balance out a relationship with something. That's what it's about, balancing out the relationship with, like I said, money, family, work, ourselves, food, health, all these things. Everything is a relationship you build with another person or thing. And that's what we're seeing. What relationships are most important, or which relationships need to be balanced. And that's also kind of emphasized with the Leo Venus retrograde too. Yeah, it's kind of like an ongoing process of what help we need, and that can always change too. That's the thing. But yeah, guys, so nobody asked me no questions, so I guess that y'all don't have any questions. I answered everything. That's the goal. If you haven't seen my recent posts about the Human Design Workshop, sign up to that waiting list. I will be reaching out probably, yeah, I'll be reaching out this week with more information on how to book your slot and sign up for that. I'm still working out all the details for the class or the course, the workshop, whatever it is. It's 10 weeks long. So I will talk more about like the prices and all that stuff, but you're on Patreon, so you get a discounted price, a big discount, not free, but less than $30. Oops, I think I missed something. I know sometimes you do forget and you want to ask in the moment, but I usually write questions down if I'm watching a video or live if I can't ask. But yeah, you guys, so that's pretty much, that's tea. That's it. That's where you need to focus on, okay? It's not like something that you have to like really plan for. It's just like you have to just wait and see how it falls into your life, and wait and see what you got to do. So, you know, don't freak out or stress out about it. Everybody's going to be affected by it in some way, shape, or form, but it's not like a bad transit. There's always a nodal shift. It just can be a little bit more difficult if you have like planets square to or conjunct to the north and south node, because it can show that it's going to be easier time for you to go towards growth, or maybe a little more challenging. So especially for Cancer and Capricorn, you'll find like there's a lot more tension to get you towards your goals versus like ease, just like, oh, it's just harmonious. So like Gemini, Sag, Leo, and Aquarius are going to have the easiest time with this transition here. Rising more so specifically, I think. So yeah. Yeah, guys. Well, if you guys if you think of any questions, feel free to comment on the post itself and rewatch this video. If anybody can do the timestamps for me, I appreciate that, because sometimes I forget or I don't feel like it. So please, if you want to go back and do those with the axis, I would really, really appreciate that, and I'll post it on YouTube. Thank you guys for watching. Wait, hold on. Square conjunct doesn't, do you mean natal chart? I don't really understand what this question is asking me. I'm sorry. I mean, like, if you have planet, I see what you're saying, like in your own chart. No, I'm talking about with this transit. Like, if you have Capricorn and Cancer placements, this transit with Aries and Libra, North Node and South Node, may be a little more difficult for you. It can also apply in your own chart, though, if you have, like, if you had that as your North Node and South Node and you had planet square to that, it can apply to that too. But in this specific instance, I'm talking about what's happening astrologically versus what's in your chart. So yeah, guys. Yeah, so hit me up on Patreon. Any questions, or you can DM me. And I'll see you guys soon. I won't be on YouTube as much. I won't be on YouTube as much this week because I'll mostly be getting ready for this workshop and chilling. So hit me up on Patreon or Twitter. See you guys later.